Hey everyone, you're listening to Film Audit, and we're four college friends with a passion for movies. I'm David.
I'm Spencer.
I'm Jared. And I'm TK.
And this week we had a movie recommendation, and we're just going to talk a little bit about what we saw this week. Last time we talked about the Batman in theaters, and since the movie's come out, there's also been some behind-the-scenes stuff that's been released, and a deleted scene that we wanted to start talking about. So, Jared, do you want to explain what it was?
So I'm going to correct myself from last podcast. So we were talking about the Riddler, or not Riddler scene, the Joker scene with Riddler, as if it were the scene that was going to be cut out or left in. But apparently this new scene that we have was the one that was cut out, which I'm glad it was, but I wish both were. But we got a deleted scene where Batman goes to Arkham to talk to Joker. And it's about 5 minutes. But, yeah. What did you guys think of it?
Well, when I first heard that this actor, I forget his name, was going to be playing the Joker, I wasn't completely sold on the idea. But then I saw this scene, and I feel like he's got a lot of potential. And I'm kind of excited to see what he does with it. I agree with Jared, though. I'm glad they removed it from the movie. I think it belongs in a bonus feature part of the movie or something.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I too am also glad that it wasn't included into the film itself. But the way that it was shot, I really appreciated it. How you don't really see the Joker. You see just enough of him, but they don't need to focus in to where they can see him clearly. Because you can just see that he's burnt. And I'm really curious to understand why. And he says something along the lines of to Batman saying, it's almost our 1 year anniversary. I'm like, oh, so there's some backstory behind this, They have a little history, of course, as Batman and Joker, pretty much your main superhero and villain within that the setting. So I thought it was really cool, and I really wanted to get to know, the backstory behind it. I want to see their chemistry and how it folds together within, the next movie that's going to be coming out. But that was really just my 2 cents and my take within that scene itself. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah. And yeah, for the record, the actor's name is Barry Keoghan, from Eternals recently and Dunkirk and stuff. I agree with Jared. I think that it was good that they took the scene out, because it would have felt very out of place. And obviously anyone who's watching the movie knows who the Joker is, but it just seemed really superfluous for what the movie was doing, and having I feel no matter where you put that scene in the movie, it would have grinded the film to a halt.
It would have halted momentum.
Yeah. And because all it really is, because it's not even he doesn't learn any information in that scene. The scene exists to show that the Joker is in the movie.
Yeah.
That's it. And so from a narrative standpoint, it's a totally pointless scene. And then, I'm kind of mixed on Barry Keoghan's performance. I thought in some respects he was really good. I like his unique take on the laugh. And then, I thought his performance was generally good. Mm-hmm. But I also thought that a lot of it just kind of sounded like he was trying to impersonate Heath Ledger. And I know that Heath Ledger's performance isn't it's not the holy grail, and it's not oh, you can't ever try to top it. Yeah. And it also isn't the most original, because it's an interpretation of an existing character. So the performance that Heath Ledger gave is unique, but it's also rooted in other aspects of the character and other presentations of him. So I'm not too hung up on it, but at the same time, it's kind of distracting when he starts talking and you're oh, he's doing a Heath Ledger voice and he's talking like this. And so that was kind of weird.
I think it's really interesting that Batman and the Joker already have a history, because I feel that hasn't really happened before in movies. It's always been Joker's origin is a part of the movie, or his introduction to Gotham is a part of the movie, but he's already an established figure. Yeah. So I wonder how that will play out.
Well, I think they did do that in Batman v Superman, didn't they? Because Batman's mourning the loss of Robin, and Robin has the spray paint on his suit and something. Oh, yeah. And it's you assume that oh, they've met before. Okay, it was before the whole Jared Leto Suicide Squad thing.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say, are we going to count Jared Leto?
Yeah, I didn't even see Suicide Squad, so
And you're not missing anything.
that's what I've heard. So.
I wish I had seen the movie that was the first trailer.
Oh, right.
Because I remember that being distinct for me. I didn't even know that was like a fan thing. That where they like released the whatever cut, the Ayer cut.
Uh-huh.
But I just remember watching the first trailer and being like, oh, cool. This is like dark, but I kind of like the vibe. And then the next trailer came out and everyone was like raving about it because it was edited to Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
And so the company literally hired the same trailer company to edit re-edit the movie so that it would have the same vibe as the trailer. And so it was just like this spoof comedy, like so weird.
It's
so weird.
What's really weird though, or what's really funny though, is after the whole Snyder Cut thing and the fact that actually like finally got released and stuff. Ayer went on Twitter and he was like, "My turn," and he starts like tweeting about like what his cut of Suicide Squad would have been, and he's like, so this is a quote. "I made something amazing. My cut is intricate and an emotional journey with some bad people who are crapped on and discarded. A theme that resonates in my soul. The studio cut is not my movie. Read that again. And my cut is not the 10-week director's cut. It's a fully mature edit by Lee Smith, standing on the incredible work by John Gilroy. It's all Stephen Price's brilliant score with not a single radio song in the whole thing. It has traditional character arcs, amazing performances, a solid third act resolution. A handful of people have seen it." And like, people are trying to get this made, and I don't think that movie exists.
Me neither.
And like, even if he had full control, I don't know that like
It would have been the best.
it would have been the best thing because like I don't know, David Ayer doesn't have like the best track record either. He did Bright for Netflix with Will Smith right afterwards.
And what's her name? She plays Harley Quinn, isn't she in that?
Margot
no,
Robbie?
sorry, I'm thinking of a completely different movie.
Oh, the one with Will Smith.
Yeah,
You're talking
her.
about what is that? Burn
Oh,
Notice?
And he's just talking about
Is
the
it
editing,
no.
right?
That's
Like,
It's a TV show.
sorry.
if he's talking about the editing, it's still got all the same narrative story beats. So, like, it's going to be, like, still just a piece of trash, in my opinion. Because, like, I did not like it at all. And unless he changes the story for his cut, I don't expect too much.
Well, then I think Tika, you saw Fury, right?
What is it?
Fury.
Oh, Fury. Yeah.
With Brad Pitt. That's a David Ayer movie too.
That movie was okay.
Okay.
I appreciate the tone that it gives, but it's not. So for me to like a movie, it has to be I'll watch again. You
Right.
know? And typically within a short period of time. Occasionally it came up into my YouTube feed like a couple weeks ago, and I started watching clips again. I was like, I forgot about that. I was like, I'll just keep watching a couple things. Cool. And then it went away from my...
Alright, I'm gonna recommend 2001: A Space Odyssey because it's gonna be a movie. He'll like it if he'll want to watch it again.
Oh.
I need to watch it again because remember I watched it with you guys.
Yeah.
But it was like only like the last half.
Yeah, and so you were like, what was that?
What?
Yeah.
You were like, what was that? And we're like, you missed the whole thing.
Yeah,
like,
and if anybody's ever seen that movie before, it's like, well, especially
It's a trip.
The moment when he walks in, or the last 30 minutes of the movie, you're getting nothing. You have no idea what's going on, even if you've been there the whole time. But like, I felt so bad. Or like coming in halfway through Godfather, it's like, yeah. You don't know.
Damn,
So you got to rewatch. Spencer's got to rewatch 2001: Space Odyssey and Godfather.
yeah,
I actually haven't fully seen those, so I would watch those too.
Yeah.
those are good. Godfather's one of the movies where like everyone says it's a classic, and so you kind of have these like astronomical expectations. But then I finally watched it and I got it, and I was like, oh my gosh, because few movies have done that for me. Like I watched Citizen Kane, and like I've watched like Sunset Boulevard, and things that people are like, oh, this is like one of the best movies. And I usually watch them, and I'm like, okay, I appreciate this, but it's not something that I would like, go back and like rewatch a bunch of times.
Right.
But then when I watched The Godfather, I was just blown away, and I fell in love with it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I on YouTube, occasionally there's like an ad that pops up or like a little comment, and one of them said like Godfather turns like 50 today. Is it really that? Did it come out 50 years ago?
It came out in the 70s.
Oh my gosh, I feel. Well, I can't feel old.
Man, I remember when the movie came out.
TK worked on the movie.
Yeah, man, I was there. No, but like, I remember my parents watching it when I was a kid, and they're like, "Don't watch this." I'm like, "Okay," but the fact that it turned 50, like, it's aged well for itself, you know.
Yeah,
And-
actually, 2 days ago was the 50th anniversary.
yeah,
Wow.
Because it came out in 72.
It has such a reputation for like, I don't know, from anyone's perspective to be like, oh, that guy's a film buff. He probably likes Pulp he probably likes Pulp Fiction, Interstellar, Godfather, Goodfellas, Fight Club. Yep. But like, I would, after watching Godfather, I'm like, no, like you gotta watch it.
Yeah.
We could joke about it all we want because it's been around so long and being talked about the same for so long. But
Right.
it's definitely worth watching at some point for anybody.
Well, and it's so nice that, like, despite the fact that The Godfather has been, like, memed a lot, or, like, everyone kind of knows, like, the impression of, like, Vito Corleone, like, oh, making nothing, I can't refuse. Like, everyone knows that.
Yeah.
But when you're watching the movie, it doesn't detract from your experience because you're so immersed in, like, the story and the characters that you're not thinking about, like, oh, that's a meme.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like all the spoofs that come from The Godfather. It's yeah, like I said, it's aged very well. Like, for example, the head of the horse. Like, there's so many bits, whether it's funny or it's serious.
But when
use that.
But when you watch it,
I've seen that. I've
That
seen
clip?
that clip. Yeah, I've seen that.
it's
scene.
like haunting. But
Yeah,
he's like
rides-
feeling around. He's like,
what is this? Yeah.
yeah, he moves the bed sheet. He's like, and you just hear the scream as he sees the outside of the house.
I especially really want to watch Apocalypse Now. I keep
Yes.
seeing it. I like it. Just happens. It's like when you like buy a car and you see your car everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I've talked about it with David. I've seen it on TikTok. He like showed me a scene where they kill a ox.
Yeah, it was like a water buffalo
Oh
or
my
something.
gosh! Yeah, so like I really want to watch it.
I know that. Yeah, I know the Redux is on Netflix, but that's like an extended cut.
Oh,
And I haven't watched the Redux. I've only watched like the original theatrical cut. I haven't looked too much into like what the difference is between that and the
Okay.
Redux. I've looked on like some threads though on Reddit and stuff, and people are generally like, yeah, just watch the theatrical first, and if you like it, then go watch the Redux.
yeah.
But like start with the more accessible one.
Mm.
So I don't know if you'd want to watch it on Netflix.
Is that
but
the only place you can watch right now?
that's the only place it's streaming right now.
Okay.
But you could obviously like rent it, and then we might have it on Vudu. We might have access to it there.
Have you heard that movie, Spencer?
Which one?
Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Isn't that it's like a Vietnam War movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's like the quintessential Vietnam movie. It kind of started a lot of the trends of Vietnam movies. So like,
Platoon.
right? Oh, I don't know if it. Yeah, I don't know the timeline. When did
Oh yeah,
Platoon
which
come
one
out?
came out? Apocalypse Now or Full Metal Jacket first?
Apocalypse Now came in 1979.
Right, and then Full Metal Jacket was Kubrick's response to Apocalypse Now,
Oh.
which is why a lot of people don't really like, or some people don't like Full Metal Jacket because Kubrick made it as a response to Apocalypse Now, so he's kind of begging comparisons.
Yeah.
Mm.
I feel
but-
like there's apples and oranges there. Like,
Right. I mean, I haven't seen Full Metal Jacket.
haven't?
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to do a double feature sometime, and we'll watch Apocalypse Now and Full Metal Jacket,
like
and
a-
I'll watch what I haven't seen. You watch what
just
you
like
haven't
a
seen.
6-7 hour
But-
window.
Go back to what I was saying earlier, though. So, Platoon came out in like '86, so like that was also after Apocalypse Now. But Apocalypse Now is the movie that's that started using Flight of the Valkyries.
Oh.
So bum ba dum bum bum
Right,
bum ba bum bum. That's used in the scene where they're in helicopters and they're like napalming the Vietnamese forest, and like there's these giant explosions.
Whoa.
And so now that's why like anytime there's like a helicopter scene in anything, they play Flight of the Valkyries because of
That's
Apocalypse Now.
crazy.
Well, historically, they played it. What is it? CCW, Clearance Clearwater. What is it? Cadence Clearwater. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
No,
The
what is
band, they have a certain song that they played for the enemy that would pretty much send us like a warning sign, so everyone would get scared. And it was like a hard, heavy metal song.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so whenever the Vietnamese soldiers heard that, they'd be like legit scared. They'd get paralyzed for it.
Yeah, in the movie, it's kind of like that because it's diegetic music. So it's music that they're playing over the speakers of the helicopters. So they're playing Flight of the Valkyries while they're napalming the forest.
Oh.
It's a really good scene.
It sounds like a really cool scene.
I have to look this
It's
one up.
crazy though. Like what I really want to do is watch Heart of Darkness. It's a like behind the scenes documentary, and there's some like crazy behind the scenes stuff with that. Like I've seen clips at least where Francis Ford Coppola he's talking about how like yeah we're like over budget and like behind on schedule and like we're just all going crazy out here and like basically Tropic Thunder is kind of a parody of both Apocalypse Now but also kind of Heart of Darkness, and like the whole behind the scenes stuff, because that's why you get like, oh, they accidentally blew up the forest, when they weren't supposed to and stuff, because like they're making a movie, so it's kind of, there are parallels with that and like the making of Apocalypse Now and all the crazy behind the scenes stuff that went on. But anyway, I haven't seen it, so I can't really speak much to it, but that would be a good like follow up for watching Apocalypse Now is watching Heart of Darkness.
Yeah.
And then Tropic Thunder right after that.
Yeah, there you go.
Is it Tropic Thunder? Did you watch it?
No, but I know about it.
Dude.
I was there.
Yeah. Jared, TK, and I watched Tropic Thunder last semester.
Who was there? It was Cole, Jamal, and McQueen?
Maybe. I think it might have been the whole apartment.
Yeah, we had a bunch of our roommates watching with us. It was like the perfect like
Guys.
late night guy movie to watch.
That movie is so funny. I love the trailers they have in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
That part will always get me.
It's the kind of movie, though, where I don't know that I could ever rewatch it unless I'm in a situation just like that, where I'm with a bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
If I tried to watch it on my own, I feel like I would just, like...
I feel like a loser. I can't watch it with someone else.
Yeah.
At that point.
Well, because it's so just, like... It's very, like, crude and stupid.
Right.
But it's, like, smart in how stupid it is. Anyway, it's definitely best for the crowd.
Yeah, at the same time, like, the environment is important, because I feel like it's that kind of movie that if you watch it with a friend or a couple of friends, the next day you'll be like, bro, do you remember that scene?
Yeah.
When we were acting like that? But if you're watching it separately, like, in a theater, you're like, dude, how did you react to that scene? Or, like, it's a weird...
It creates some good inside jokes and, like, just fun for like weeks after.
Yeah, for us, our inside joke is when he throws the kid over the bridge,
Asian boy just waving his arms.
Yeah. Well, comedies for the most part, I kind of like that though. Like, it's usually best to watch a comedy with friends because it's a lot easier to like loosen up and like laugh if other people around you are laughing. Like, I've tried watching some comedies by myself, and they're just so hard to sit through. Well, maybe that same movie would be, like, just a lot more enjoyable with other people that were, like, more responsive. I'm also, like, pretty stoic when I watch movies, so that probably doesn't help. I usually just, like, sit and watch, and, like, I usually don't cry, and I usually don't laugh, and I'm usually not very responsive anyway, so it helps when I have a crowd.
Do you guys have any movies you want to talk about that you've watched, or like things going on in your life, passing your finals, things going good?
Nah, I just been on the edge of my seat with March Madness. And my roommate Seth, he's like, bro, have you seen The Last Stand? I'm like, what is that? He's like, it's Michael Jordan's documentary. It's on Netflix.
Like The Last Dance?
The Last
Dance. Sorry, my bad. Last Dance. And I was like, no. He's like, what? We're stopping Brooklyn Nine-Nine. We're going to watch that. So I was like, okay. So we're like midnight every night, and then we watch The Last Dance.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool how they have it set up, because it's like a whole timeline that you see, and they jump back and forth throughout the whole episodes. And it's a cool concept. And I didn't know a lot of things that happened with Michael Jordan, everything. His rise to fame, and how he came up from poor, and stuff like that. It's really cool.
Didn't he switch to baseball because his dad died, and his dad always wanted to do baseball?
Exactly. And I didn't know exactly how his dad died, surprisingly. I didn't really keep up with the pop culture back then. But yeah, his dad was murdered. I didn't know that.
Oh, whoa. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, see, and I was like, dang, that shocked me. So it really got my attention. So there was so much, like, there was so many, what do you call it? Not conspiracy theories, scandals. There were so many scandals with him having a gambling addiction.
Oh.
And that caused him to, like, be quiet from the media and stuff like that. It is really cool.
Dang. Well, one thing I did watch recently that I know at least two of you have watched is Free Guy. The main difference is that I know that you two really liked it. So I kind of want to hear you guys just talk about your thoughts on it. And
me, Jared, not having watched it, I have some popcorn and I'm going to watch the fires.
I mean, this is all friendly. Like, I'm totally cool with the fact that you guys like it. But I also want to hear your opinion and, like, hear your perspective and why you guys enjoy it. So...
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I can start. I thoroughly enjoyed Free Guy because, again, like we were talking about earlier with comedies, you have to watch it with a bunch of people, and we bounce off each other with similar tastes of humor. Mm-hmm. With this one, I watched it with... who did I watch it with? I watched it with some friends back home, and we had a great time. We loved all the pop culture references that were mentioned in there. Again, Taika's in there. He's not the director, of course, but... I liked his performance, but just those little small jabs. Like, for example, when he pulls out a Captain America shield and you see Chris Evans, like, just gets like a 5-second cameo. It's like, he's like, what the? And then just cuts him off right there before he like says a curse word. I don't know. Dang, what am I trying to say here?
Did it tickle you right?
It tickled me right. Words of Jared. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
So I thought that it was enjoyable. It was fun. I watched it with my wife and she really enjoyed it too. It was like a lot of fun, but I feel like it's one of those movies you kind of have to watch and just be a little bit brain dead because like,
oh, so me all the time.
But like, it's just, I don't know, kind of just nonsense humor and it's funny just to watch and turn off your brain. And, that's the kind of expectation I went into it. And, it's a very, very much a Ryan Reynolds movie. He is very much the same character in almost all the movies he's played in, at least as I've seen, like in Deadpool, Free Guy,
Red Notice.
Red Notice. What else have I seen? The Adam Project, saw that recently. He's all like the same character. And for me, I think that's okay because I like Ryan Reynolds, but I know some people don't.
Yeah. See, yeah, that's like one of my main issues is that most of the comedy comes from the protagonist, played by Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
And yeah, ever since Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds has just kind of played Deadpool in every movie that he's been in. And I think that he mostly works as Deadpool. I thought that the writing of those movies wasn't the best, and I didn't like a lot of the jokes in them either. And so now that it's been like, like 5 or so years since Deadpool, I'm just kind of like tired of Ryan Reynolds' shtick. I don't find him like that funny. He has this like way of like telling jokes where he just like compares things to other things. He does that a lot in Deadpool, or him and TJ Miller. They're like, you look like an avocado that had sex with another avocado. And it's like, what is that? That's not even a joke. I mean, I guess, I don't know. If you think it's funny, that's fine. But he does that in Free Guy where he's like, this coffee is like losing my virginity in my mouth. And like, it's like that same formula for joke telling. He does it the whole time. And I'm kind of tired of it. And like, I don't like the character that he plays, Guy. He's a lesser version of Truman from The Truman Show and Emmett Burkowski from the Lego Movie. Cause he's like, he doesn't realize that he's living in this like fake world. But like he has, apart from just being Ryan Reynolds, he doesn't really have like a personality or like a purpose as a character. And like, he's only in like the rut of like his routine for like a couple minutes in the movie, and then suddenly he sees the girl and like decides to change the status quo out of nowhere. And then you compare that to like, again, like the Truman Show or the Lego Movie, where the main character is like fully like entrenched in their worldview and the world that they live in. And so it takes a big event for them to even consider breaking out of the mold of like, this is what I do every day, and like trying new things. But he doesn't have that at all. So he doesn't. So when he finally is told that his world is fake, you don't really buy how like devastated he is, because it's not like he seemed to be like that in love with the life he was living anyway, because he immediately wanted to like change things up and order like a frappuccino instead of a coffee and stuff. And like I didn't like Taika Waititi in this either.
You like that guy?
No, I like him in other stuff, and I think he's a talented director. But like, I just found like his character to be like really cringy, and like I don't like any of his jokes.
I think that was the purpose that Taika was going for.
Yeah.
I guess. So I guess I just didn't enjoy his scenes then, like because it was just cringy, and I didn't feel like it was supposed to be cringy because the characters around him weren't like treating him like he was like cringe, Right?
Because I think at that point he was like this top dog, and they had to respect him, otherwise they get fired.
Right.
Because he's that much of an
honcho.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, super like conceited and stuff.
Exactly.
I liked Joe Keery from Stranger Things and Jodie Comer from The Last Duel. I thought they were good, and I thought that the scenes with them in it were like pretty like watchable. Like I liked both of them. I thought they had like good chemistry for the most part. And I think like the funniest parts were with them because I just related to them more as characters than I did like Taika Waititi, who's just like a cartoon character, and Ryan Reynolds, who's just Deadpool without a costume on.
Well, I think that's perfect, aside from the Taika part, because they're pretty much seen as real life people, whereas Ryan Reynolds and them are like AI, you know?
Yeah. But Ryan Reynolds is also like the protagonist. Like the movie's named after him.
Mm-hmm. True.
And if I don't care about like him, because I don't really, I care more about Joe Keery and Jodie Comer. I don't really care about him and like his relationship with Jodie Comer's like fake persona.
What I took away from that was that Ryan Reynolds was playing what's the guy's name from Stranger Things again?
I don't remember.
Oh,
Joey,
that guy, it's his emotions and his feelings, because he mentions it, but it's programmed into Guy.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't really care for him too much, but that's why he plays an essential role as the protagonist.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that kind of makes sense. And then I thought that the movie was kind of like hypocritical in its message. Because there's a part where Joe Keery is talking to Taika Waititi about like Free City 2, and like he's talking about like, oh, we should make something new. And so like the movie is like criticizing Taika Waititi's character for like his cynical thinking and for thinking that only sequels and IPs are like popular and like that's what everyone wants. And so like the movie is like, you know, pitting the protagonist against him, and so it's implicitly saying that what Taika Waititi is saying about IPs is like wrong. But then at the end, the movie indulges in the same like way of thinking that Taika Waititi was doing the whole time. And like, yeah, when he pulls out the shield and the Avengers theme plays, and then he pulls out a lightsaber, and then like 5 characters are like, oh my gosh, it's a lightsaber. And like the Star Wars theme plays. And it's like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't criticize Taika Waititi for being like, oh, only IPs and sequels are popular. And then at the end being like, hey, look at all these IPs that we have. And then now they're making a sequel. So it's like, what is your message? Yes, there's going to be a free guy too.
Interesting.
They're going to free another guy?
I guess. Yeah, well, I guess the movie, that's another thing. Like, the movie leaves itself open-ended because Joe Keery and Jodie Comer's like $1 million idea was making a game where you just like watch and interact with AI characters, because apparently people have more fun doing that than shooting them, which first of all isn't true. Like people love like GTA.
Yeah.
Well, and also there are tons of games that don't involve violence. So like to pretend like this is like a new thing, it's like no, well, like you can play Animal Crossing.
Oh yeah.
The only thing that's different with this though is that the AIs they programmed were ones that were like learning and progressing on their own. So they're actually like, you don't have to train them or anything. Like they're experiencing it for themselves. So like they're like human beings, but
I guess how do you play that game? Like what do you do then?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
The only thing they had though that was they wanted to keep it alive was the fact that they had that technology. They had information, and Taika just took over.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing though, is like I feel like the movie or like the screenwriters don't understand how video games work, because there's that idea. And then like I had like a bunch of questions while watching. So once a guy's like AI starts like, you know, blooming, and he's like trying to branch out, and he like steals the glasses and stuff. Joe Keery and his coworker from corporate like go into the game to try to like tell Guy to take the NPC skin off. But it's like, what, like, why is corporate in the game like policing how characters like use skins? Like that's not like nobody, you know, you don't have someone working for GTA Online who goes in and plays the game as a character to tell people that they can't break the rules of the game. Like that doesn't make any sense.
No,
and then like what kind of video game requires its players to equip sunglasses in order to access like their equipment and heads up display? Because you see that when he takes the glasses off of characters, suddenly like they can't access their heads up display anymore.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like that doesn't make any sense. And then the movie acknowledges like around halfway through that there's not a mechanic to kiss in the game. But somehow Guy kisses Jodie Comer's character anyway, right? So the movie acknowledges that like you can't do that. But then at the end, or towards the end, when Jodie Comer's character needs to reawaken Guy's AI, she kisses him and it brings everything back. So it's like, well, how did you do that if like the movie says you can't kiss in the game, but she just kissed him to solve the problem.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Me
And so, and then there's like another weird things, like the movie makes jokes a lot of the time that like contradict the fact that it's a video game. So there's a part where Jodie Comer's character jumps onto Guy's lap, and Guy's like on a motorcycle, and she's like, "Do you have a Glock in your pocket?" And he's like, "No, I have 2 Glocks." And it's like, haha. But also, if you're playing a video game, how can you tell if there's like something in a video game character's pants?
Yeah, no.
You can't feel that. You're playing a game. Why would she say that? And like, it sounds nitpicky, but like the whole movie is based on this idea that we're in a video game, but I can't believe that because everything that they're showing me is like contradictory to the fact that this is a video game.
Right, and at the same time, Jodie's not wearing a VR headset.
No.
She's looking at a computer.
This isn't Ready Player One where you have like a sensory suit and you
Exactly.
can feel everything that's happening to you.
This
in the
isn't
game.
Belle.
Yeah, this isn't Belle. Unfortunately. And then like on the video game thing, the worst parts to me were when all the video game influencers start showing up, like Ninja and Pokimane and Jacksepticeye.
Oh yeah.
And they're like commenting on like, "Oh my gosh, Free Guy's going viral. Like, I never thought of NPCs this way. Maybe I should be nicer to them." And I was in physical pain every time that Pokimane was talking to me on the screen. It was so frustrating.
Yeah, I felt that too, actually. I did not like that part.
What else did you guys like about it?
I don't know, Ryan Reynolds, I think he's funny. I know some people don't, but I like him.
And that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
you can't really control what you think is funny.
I know.
Right,
you know?
right.
Yeah. And then, what else did I like about it? I kind of was there for some of the references. They were fun. I don't know. It was a fun experience.
I can't explain it. The way I explain things is through metaphors. The way I can describe it is if I was eating a donut, like a cheap donut, I was like, I thoroughly enjoyed that. Right? It was good.
Mm-hmm.
David, on the other hand, if he had the same donut, he might feel like the what do you call it, the grease that's on the top of his roof of his mouth, and he's like noticing that more than the actual flavor it was. You know?
Yeah. And yeah, it's different approaches, different sense of humor, different sensibilities to, you know, what you like and what you don't like.
Right. There's like punches and jabs at like pure at different pop culture references I mentioned earlier. So like when you watch it, you'll understand what me and Spencer are saying, but at the same time you also see the points that David has pointed out.
Oh yeah, such a weird thing, like taste and preference. You know,
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
same as like no one person has the exact same music taste, and how we can't understand like why does that guy listen to heavy metal? Like, what does he get out of that? Or like why does that guy listen to boring classical? Like, I don't know, it's just so interesting because we come on this podcast and we decide what's good and what's not. But you guys could have a completely different opinion, and that's totally fine because this is just the same as like, you know, eating a donut or listening to music. Like, we are all we experience the same thing, but in a completely different lens and perspective. So it's like,
Yeah.
we can watch the same movie and have jarring views on it, but
Yeah.
Right.
that's
So,
just
like,
how it is.
An example would be like Belle. You know, we all hated it. I told my friend that. She's like, "Really? My roommate loved that film." I was like, "Oh well, don't
Yeah.
listen to our podcast." Man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like,
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, all art is subjective, and you can make objective observations of art. Like, you know, I can say there were lots of special effects in Free Guy, or there were lots of pop culture references and musical cues to try to trigger nostalgia. Like, those are objective facts. Your response to those objective qualities is subjective. Like, if when the Star Wars theme plays and he pulls out a lightsaber, I start rolling my eyes, that's a subjective response to an objective thing. Whereas, you know, maybe TK and Spencer were like, "Oh, this is fun. Let's go!" Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, I try to approach film objectively in as much as I try to make sure that my opinion is based on objective observations. But at the end of the day, I'm the one experiencing it.
Yeah.
And if I experience it in a different way than someone else, that's not really under either of our control.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's good that we've gotten a good mixture of movies to talk about, you know, including Belle and Best Picture winners like 12 Years a Slave, because it just lets us see every end of what people may like, and just to give you guys our perspective on what we think. And so not necessarily to give you guys like a voice and an opinion that's not yours, but someone else said it, so now you've heard it and you can say the same thing. But just to give you, like, let's say maybe you like Belle, or you liked a movie we didn't like. It's a good discourse to hear a perspective that's not yours. So listen to our podcast.
All right.
I guess I'd give Free Guy like a 3 out of 10.
7 out of 10. It's not, the best made movie, but made my monkey brain happy.
I can agree with that. Yeah, 7 or 7.5 for me.
Okay.
I like your metaphor. That makes sense. And that's a good way of like
Which
thinking
one?
about it. About the donut.
Yeah.
I know this is cheap. I know it's like not the best quality, but I'm gonna eat this donut.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. It's good.
Yeah.
It's like a guilty pleasure.
Yeah. Well, speaking of non-guilty pleasures, we had a movie recommendation a couple weeks ago from Spencer.
Yeah.
Spencer, you want to tell us about what you recommended?
Yeah, so last week I recommended that we watch Spirited Away, and I really liked it. I had to think about the movie a little bit more to appreciate it a little bit more, because it was a little crazier than I was expecting, but it was a lot of fun. I really liked it.
So some context for the movie. Spirited Away was a film from 2001 by Hayao Miyazaki, and it's from the studio called Studio Ghibli. You've probably heard of some of their other movies. This is one of the more popular ones, so maybe you've heard of this one, but Ponyo was a big one in America when that came out, because Disney kind of pushed that movie. But they're just known for their Japanese studio. They're known for their animation, and they're like really feel-good movies. And so typically everyone has like a favorite, so if you want to watch any of them, they're on HBO Max.
Yeah, this is a movie that I had seen one time before. I actually watched it with Jared for the first time, fall of 2020, and I was kind of in the same camp as Spencer, because it's a movie that you hear a lot about, and everyone's like, oh, it's like one of the best like animated movies of all time, and so it kind of set my expectations a certain way. And so then when I watched it, and it was very strange, because it's admittedly very strange, and I think that it revels in its strangeness, so it's not a bad quality of it. But because I wasn't expecting that, I definitely had an interesting experience the first time, just thinking, what is going on here? But I really appreciated this rewatch, because since I knew where the story was going and what to expect, I had a lot more fun with it this time. And I was just able to embrace all of the quirks and oddities and stuff this time.
Oh, facts, yeah. What I like about Studio Ghibli is I always mention it, how it's like Disney, but a little more wilder. So it's like a good balance between your typical anime and your typical Americanized television or movie fairy tale. But Spirited Away, I didn't know this until last week, where it was the highest grossing film since 2001 until, I want to say, last year.
When you say highest grossing, you mean highest grossing Japanese film?
Japanese film of all time.
Wow.
Yeah, until Demon Slayer, the Train to Mugen, that came out.
I bet Hayao was not happy with that.
Yeah, he's a cynical old man, so he probably doesn't care.
Context: Hayao Miyazaki has said that his movies are anti-anime, and his approach is anti-anime, and what beat it was an anime.
Right. But at the same time, Hayao Miyazaki has like 2 other films from Studio Ghibli in the top 10, the highest grossing film.
Yeah, he's very popular. Studio Ghibli is very popular, very well known,
right?
Very beloved, loyal fan base.
Of course, yeah, and their animation is has laid a foundation for a lot of animation studios.
Yeah, that was one thing I would say. Like, this movie came out in 2001, but it looks beautiful,
right?
Even though you can see that it has 20 years on it, like the drawing, everything is just. I love the world that they put you in the whole time. It's probably one of like the best looking, in my opinion, of Ghibli's track record.
I really like what TK said. Like, to me, it did give off some Disney vibes. And I really did like that. It could have been maybe some of the voice actors too. We'll get into that later. But I really liked the animation as well. And it was just a beautiful thing to watch. And like David kind of mentioned, and I talked about it last time, but this was my first viewing of the movie, and everybody else has already seen it. And so it was very, I don't know what's the word, enlightening to finally see this movie.
Yeah.
Because I've been wanting to watch Studio Ghibli for a while, and this is my first experience with them, and now I'm just excited to watch all of their movies.
Yeah. Going back to what Jared was talking about, how it's like, aged super well. I think it's one of the underrated things about 2D animation in general. Like, you go back and you watch Lion King from 1995, the movie looks gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And then you watch 3D animated movies from 5 years ago, and they look like garbage.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're always going to be getting better at 3D animation, but 2D animation it holds up so well. You can even watch, even the older Disney stuff. That stuff looks gorgeous.
Yeah. I love Disney's Jungle Book, from the 60s.
Yeah.
And you can still see the hand-drawn effort that was put into it. And it looks beautiful. And they have all these matte paintings as backgrounds, and they look beautiful. And I really miss the 2D animation that Disney used to pump out all the time. Cause the last movie they ever did, 2D animation was The Princess and the Frog. After that, no more.
Unless it's a short or something.
Yeah, unless it was something like that. But I really miss that old Disney style. And to watch Spirited Away was a really nice, it was something new for me. And it kind of gave me a taste of the old Disney.
Yeah.
Right.
And I really, really like the animation. I keep saying it, but it's so beautiful.
This is coming from someone that loves art and creating graphic design stuff. So
exactly.
Makes sense.
I didn't mention this, I guess, when we were first introducing ourselves, but I'm an illustration major, so I love art, and I like to appreciate different kinds of art, and this was very, very cool to watch.
And a little bit of background on that, Hayao Miyazaki draws all of this, right? He draws all of this himself.
Yeah, frame by frame.
And so his movies can take a long time to finally come to fruition. So I know right now he's working on one, and I'm really hoping he doesn't die before it's over.
No.
Because this man's in his 90s, but he's just stayed very true to this idea of animating 2D, drawing it all himself, and going through the process.
Yeah, on top of that, he's announced his retirement
several times.
many times.
Really?
Yeah, but every time a movie comes out, he's all right, I'm coming out of retirement. And for example, Princess Mononoke, that's one of his. Everyone loves that film. Okay, that one he had his animators draw it. If I'm correct on this, he saw the work, didn't like 90% of it, scrapped all of it, and hand drew it himself.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I'm and it looks amazing. And there's lots of shots where characters are running through the woods, and nature is following you and chasing after you. I'm how do you draw that frame by frame, the majority of the film?
Yeah,
and still keep doing this.
I want to get into some of the character design and creativity, but I guess we should probably do a rundown of the plot, just so we kind of get an idea of what the story's about.
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want me to go ahead, or Jared, did you want to just read it? Oh, okay, I'll read it. So the synopsis is: a young girl, Chihiro, becomes trapped in a strange new world of spirits. When her parents undergo a mysterious transformation, she must call upon the courage she never knew she had to free her family.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good synopsis.
That is good.
Yeah.
I guess just some bullet points of things that happen after that. She starts working at this.
There's a lot of Japanese mythology in this. It's called an onsen, but in English it'd be a bathhouse.
Yeah, it's a bathhouse for spirits. She starts working there, but she sells away her name in order to do that, and the witch lady that controls the bathhouse is able to control her because she owns her name. She befriends one of the henchmen of the witch. His name is Haku. And she goes through a lot of problems that she has to solve at the bathhouse, and she's able to develop and show her courage through her actions. And then in the second half, she goes and visits the twin sister of the witch to help heal her friend and to return some objects.
Yeah.
Yeah, the story, I feel like this movie has a lot going on in it. There's a lot of kind of smaller side plots, but it's all to serve a larger purpose and to building up Chihiro's character.
Yeah, something that I kind of noticed this time, because the first time I felt like the story lacked structure, and it is pretty loose. And I want to get to something related to that in a minute. But for me, this time, I was kind of able to divide the movie into two parts. And in the beginning, when she and her parents are like exploring this, what they think is an abandoned theme park, but ends up being like the town of the spirits and the bathhouse and stuff, Chihiro is like really scared, and she's like clinging to her mom's arm, and they're saying like, hey, like, you know, don't do that, like, don't be afraid. And she seems really nervous the whole time. And so for me, the first half of the movie is about Chihiro like discovering her courage,
Overcoming.
and overcoming the fear that she has. And I think that culminates in the scene with the stink spirit. So this giant, globby, gross, muddy spirit comes into the bathhouse wanting a bath, and she single-handedly gives it a bath prepares the bath, and like figures out that he's got like this thorn in his side, and she pulls out all this debris, and like it's really gross looking, but and then like this like dragon spirit ends up being in the middle of this like stink spirit.
Uh-huh.
But I think that's the moment where she like really shows that she's overcome her fears, and she's able to, you know, stick her hand in this goopy stuff and like not worry about how dangerous this might be and stuff. And then the second half for me is about her like learning to see the good in people, because Haku is the henchman of the witch, and he's helped her a few times, but some of the other workers are like, oh, don't trust Haku, he's not good, he's, you know, he only lies, and he's, you know, don't believe what he says. But she sees the good in him, and so she does all this stuff to like save his life and like appease the wrath of the twin sister of the witch and stuff. And there's the witch who owns the bathhouse has this big baby, very odd, but big baby. And at first the big baby is like mean and like, I'm gonna break your arm if you don't play with me.
And I will cry so you die.
Yeah, I'll cry so you die. But then like the witch's twin sister turns the baby into a mouse. And, you know, despite how the baby was treating her, Chihiro like takes him with her to like visit the twin, and like she's really nice to him and stuff. And you learn later that this whole time that he could have turned back into a baby, but he wanted to be a mouse because he was enjoying how he was being treated better by Chihiro, and he liked her friendship. And there's some other characters like that where, you know, she befriends the No Face, the iconic character from this movie, and, you know, despite the fact that he's kind of making a mess and stuff, she still has like compassion and wants to like help him. And so for me, that's what the second half is about. It's like seeing the good in people and pulling that out of them. And even at the end, she starts calling the witch who's been controlling her this whole time Granny. She calls her that because she's not mad at her anymore. She understands her as a person.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good synopsis on that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I really like what David said. Like, it is all about, you know, a lot about Chihiro and discovering her courage. And something I think that remains constant throughout the entire film, like even starting from the beginning, is her kindness. And I really like how it develops this character, makes her this brave and stronger character to overcome all these obstacles in her way. But then it also keeps what's good about her and improves upon that. And that's like really, really, really good character development. And I really like that a lot. And something that's like really clear to me about like her development is a scene that stuck out to me was like the scene with the stairs. Do you remember that? When she has to go down to the boiler room.
Uh-huh.
And she's like just afraid to like go down these like huge stairs that drop off to like, I don't know, hundreds of feet, you know? And she's like just inching down these stairs. And then at like towards the end of the film, you see her like running along like a pipe. Yeah. And like she's even higher up than like where the stairs were. And it's just insane to see that. I was able to see that comparison and how much she has come from that first scene with the stairs to the pipe. And it's just so clear and so obvious to see that character development, where it might not be so obvious with other movies. But I really, really liked the way it was executed during this. And it was really, really cool.
Right.
I feel like with Studio Ghibli, it's like they're all kind of like this, where they have, at least from the ones I've seen, I've realized that Studio Ghibli, they like having almost a perfect character that goes through a very good path in their arc, and then they have kind of a loose story, but it's kind of based off of ideas, and like here's a lesson, those kinds of things, with the story not mattering as much as the development of these good lessons with this perfect character.
Mm-hmm.
And once I realized that, like for example, I was in the same boat as you. Spirited Away was my first Studio Ghibli. It was kind of jarring at first, because I've always heard that Studio Ghibli is amazing and that everyone has a favorite and you'll love all of them. And then when I watch them, it's a very different experience. And once you understand that, like, it's different. Like, they're not structured the same as other movies. They're all very, like, sweet. And once you get behind that, I feel like once I wasn't expecting this to be the best movie of all time, and that it's trying to achieve something different than a lot of other movies I've seen, I feel like I like this a lot more the second time.
Yeah.
Because I could see it like that, how David was saying, where it's two parts and not necessarily the story. The synopsis matters in the movie, but the idea of her overcoming her fears, and then seeing the good in people, those were the most important things in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that if you haven't seen this and you're listening and you hear like, oh, there's a big baby and there's a witch and she's a twin sister and there's a guy that turns into a dragon, but it sounds very random. It's because for a large part it is, but again, it's not really about the big baby. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Or the three like heads that like bounce around. Like it's all very creative, but like those aren't like integral to the movie. It's the message.
Yeah.
And then speaking of those creative things, something that my girlfriend pointed out when we were watching this together is this movie is like a really great dream. Like it feels very dreamlike in a lot of different ways. A lot of the character design is just so out there, like with those bouncing heads, with the witch lady that has the giant head, the big baby, this like dragon that turns into a guy, all these toads. Weird, bunch of toad people, the spirits that all look really odd.
I really like the spirits. They're very colorful.
Yeah.
Which spirits are you talking about?
Like just all the spirits like in the background and stuff. Like there's like a radish spirit.
There's the little duck or chicken guys.
Yeah.
Those are so cute.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth, my wife, loved those.
Yeah. So what's funny is, actually, I don't want to cut you off. You keep finishing your
Sure. So, and then something that I also noticed is like, if this is a dream, one of the things about dreams is when you're in them, it's really hard to like remember stuff.
Huh?
Like you can't remember that you're dreaming because you can't really remember what you're like, what you were doing, a couple hours ago, and you can't really remember what also happened earlier in the dream. And that kind of that applies to the movie too, because Chihiro, as soon as she sells her name to the witch lady, she like forgets what her actual name is. She like forgets like her parents. She forgets all this stuff, and that's very dreamlike. Like not being able to even remember like what you did, 2 hours ago or like a couple days ago. Like it helps the immersion and explains why everything feels so random.
Mm-hmm.
Is because it's like a dream, and at the end when she comes back with her parents, and goes off and her parents don't remember being turned into pigs. They don't remember anything. It's like when you wake up from a dream and it's like, well, you experienced this and it felt like it happened for a long time, but to everyone else around you, it like nothing happened at all. And it was, you weren't gone.
I think one thing I really appreciated about this, so like going off the idea that Studio Ghibli has a theme in all of their movies, they usually have like a perfect character in a lot of ways. This has got to be one of my favorite main characters, with the idea that they're going to be perfect and they're going to like learn these good lessons, because I appreciate that it was like through the eyes of a young innocent girl. Like she has fears, she's scared, but like she has a lot of hope, and it makes sense. And so like out of all the Studio Ghiblis I've watched, I think this is like the best
life lesson.
Yeah, the best protagonist that they've used for this idea, because they're all like pretty perfect in all the movies. Which, if you can get behind it, you'll like it. But I just like that as a little girl.
Yeah. I don't know if I would call her like perfect in the beginning, because when I was watching it with my wife, my wife Elizabeth pointed out that Chihiro was very annoying and like really whiny and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's like super whiny, and she's like complaining to her parents, like, I don't want to be here, I want to go back home, and I just want to, I don't know, not be here, basically. And she's just kind of like afraid of everything, it seems like everything spooks her. And I feel like she's not a perfect character. She's definitely got flaws, but I can see where you're coming from. She is almost like very much a blank slate to begin with.
A better description maybe like lawful good.
Yeah,
that's
lawful good.
all of all of their protagonists. Lawful good. Has no like internal struggle that could make you see them in a different light. It's always
they're always making like the best decisions.
Yes, they're always making the best decisions and always helping people and always, learning great lessons.
Right.
Okay, I see what you mean now. Yeah, that makes more sense.
And I think sometimes it's slightly to the movie's detriment. Like, I remember when I watched Nausicaa, I found the protagonist to be kind of bland. I didn't think that she was that interesting because I didn't resonate with the choices she made. But I think because Chihiro starts out with like a flaw that she chooses to overcome, you're like watching her progress, and you know that she's like overcoming her fear.
Yeah.
And she does always make the decision to stand up, and like she's not afraid of the witch when she goes and asks for a job. She's not afraid of the stink spirit. She's not afraid of like the twin witch that's like threatening to like kill people. Like, even though she is always doing the right thing and being brave, that it's hard for her. And so you resonate with that struggle that she's having.
Yeah. But this is like, you actually get to see a struggle. And it's through like a young girl where it is believable that she has these fears and like doesn't want to start joining this spirit world where she just lost her parents. But yeah, I like that idea that we do start somewhere at the beginning of the movie with someone that has a flaw and they overcome it. It made it more interesting for me.
Yeah, what I like about this film a lot is with Hayao Miyazaki, he loves folklore, mythology with Japanese. Actually, just not even Japanese, just in general. So he will throw hints of it throughout the film, but when interviewed about it, he doesn't say, where it's originated from at all. So it's really up to interpretation. So, for example, the name Spirited Away in Japanese or in kanji means sent to Shihiro no Kamikakushi, which pretty much means to be taken to the realm of gods or to be literally spirited away. So in the beginning, when you see them drive their Audi into the woods to find their house, you'll see that Shihiro points out like, what are those things on the ground next to that one weird looking gate? That is actually has to do with a lot of Shinto religion. I don't want to throw all this facts at you, but this is what's super important because it's at the beginning of the film.
No, this is super cool. I like this.
Okay, so Shinto religion, it's purely Japanese, and there's, if you remember that face in the beginning where like they're about to drive into
that she's scared of.
Yeah, that statue.
Yeah.
So those are called. I'm gonna butcher this so hard. It's like Disojin, and that is pretty much seen as a guardian. And it's typically to protect travelers or those who are about to go into a transition. And Chihiro at that point literally walks into that. And she goes on this huge journey. And there's so many things throughout this film. Like every single spirit that you see, the radish spirit, to those ghosts, shadow-like spirits, all those have backgrounds and origins. Miyazaki does not tell you exactly which ones they are, but you can try and pinpoint them out. I watched a video about this and it was really interesting. Even down to the witch stealing, or Yubaba, that's the witch's name of the bathhouse. When she steals Chihiro's name to Sen in kanji means 1,000. And 1,000 is pretty much what Yubaba sees her as, just a number. Another money to make her, or another number to make her more money for the bathhouse, to make her more fortunate. Chihiro means 1,000 questions. And she took that from her for an interpretation like you're not going to question where you came from again. And that's why Haku can't remember where he's from. That's how she's able to to hire these people, and they can't leave
Wow.
because they can't question where they came from, what their name is, because they can't remember.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
Let's see. And the reason why it's set in a bathhouse, this is just an idea, is a mythology for Shinto religion is, I'm just going to brief it up. This guy pretty much went to the underworld, saved his sister, came back to our world, and bathed in a river for purification. So the idea is that spirits come to this bathhouse for a purification process. And that's why it's so fortunate. That's why Yubaba makes a lot of money. Can I just say one thing?
No.
Well, I love... One thing that gets me to love a movie more is the soundtrack and the scores. Joe Hisaishi works with Hayao Miyazaki exclusively on a lot of films that he does with Studio Ghibli. And One Summer's Day is probably one of the most popular ones, as well as Howl's Moving Castle's Merry-Go-Round of Life or Kiki's Delivery Service. What is it? Town with an Ocean View. I love all those soundtracks. I would sleep to that every night on my mission. I still do. I have a whole playlist of it. Cause it makes you reminisce the feelings you get when you see Chihiro going through the forest of the gardens to see her parents as pigs, and for her to overcome that, like, dang, that actually happened. Or the 6th station stop when she's riding on the train. Just the thoughts that she's gathering as she just helped the bathhouse earn so much money through No Face, but at the same time saved it from No Face. Like, it was like a double-edged sword there.
Yeah. No, I agree. He is a wonderful composer. I think my favorite score from him is in Howl's Moving Castle, but he does such a good job of like pairing the sounds and the music with like the events.
Right.
And like it really just helps you immerse yourself in the atmosphere of the story.
Exactly. It's like if you were to watch or play a video game, but there was no no sound. You know? You fully immerse yourself through the music. That's how I see it.
Yeah. I love all of this stuff, and I think Howl's Moving is probably my favorite soundtrack. But that was one thing I noticed in this movie was Joe did a really good job of fitting the feel of a track to what was happening in this movie. So I don't know if that's been with everyone. Probably is because he's awesome. But I just really noticed in this movie, I'm like, yeah, he did a great job of capturing emotions in scenes and making sure it like was serving its purpose with memorable things that I will listen to now. Like,
right.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So one thing that we mentioned earlier was that the river spirit that was turned, who everyone thought was a stink spirit, that plays a key role. This is my interpretation of it. So you know the herbal medicine ball that she receives?
Mm-hmm.
So Chihiro at that point had only been in that spirit world for like a day or two. Mm. And we see her after that whole coincidence, or after everything happens at that she takes a bite out of it and like is immediately like wants to throw it up. But she swallows it down. And what I think is this medicine actually helps her see, like you were saying, the good in people, and can actually see through, I guess you could say, this curtain or this veil that they can't see while they're in the spirit world. Because in the end, you see that she's like, all right, there's 10 pigs here. In order to let you go with your parents alive, you have to find out which one's your parents. And she obviously knows. I don't even know how, but I think that herbal medicine had to do it with it. It fixed her eyes or something. Because she gives half the medicine to Haku, who was poisoned. He was fixed. And the spell was gone that Yubaba had on him. And then she also gives the other half to No Face, and he threw up everything and became good again. So I think that played a key essential role to her process to go back home.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I've watched this film like 17 times. And on top of that, like, I watched it in Japanese this time. And surprisingly, there isn't really that much of a difference with the translation, except the baby had a name. Baby's name is Bo.
Oh.
Well, I was very surprised with that. And also, in the ending, the last words you hear in English is like, it's like, do you think you can handle like your new school? And she's like, I think I can handle it. Yeah. It's just pure silence. They just drive away. And I thought that was interesting. Because I think it's just confident enough that you already know she can take it on.
Yeah, let's talk about that. That's another thing that Studio Ghibli is known for is everybody knows who they are. So they do a good job of dubbing their movies because it is originally in Japanese, but their English dubs are very good. They have like all-star casts of people in every movie because everyone wants to be a part of these projects, and Studio Ghibli cares to have this, be accessible for everyone. So that was another cool thing. The cast, they did a great job doing a dub for this movie.
Yeah, I recognized John Ratzenberger from Pixar.
Mm-hmm.
Who was like Ham. He's one of the
the
or like
frogs.
Mac. Yeah, he plays one of the guys. I was like, that sounds like John Ratzenberger, but he was like doing a slightly different voice. But so I wasn't sure, but I looked it up and that was him.
Yeah.
The baby in English is played by Tara Strong, who plays Ben 10 and Timmy Turner.
Yeah.
And like a bunch of other characters.
Yeah.
She's famous.
Yeah, I was surprised by like Chihiro's voice actress.
Mhm.
I was like, hey, that sounds like Lilo.
It is.
And it is Lilo from Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
also Haku, he's also a Disney character. He
Who?
plays Max from Goofy Son.
Oh,
that's
from the
nice.
Goofy movie.
Yeah.
and then if you guys remember Lynn, like the woman that helps out.
Yes.
Yeah, she's played by Susan Egan, who is most, I think, famous for her portrayal of Megara from Hercules.
Meg.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
she was also in another
Wow.
Studio Ghibli film.
As soon as she spoke, I was like, that's Meg.
Doesn't Disney do the casting
so
for because I know that Disney and Ghibli have worked, like Disney helps distribute Ghibli films in the US. That's why like Ponyo was like an association with the two.
Exactly. So, if I remember correctly, they worked specifically through Pixar, and Pixar wants to find the best voice actors for Studio Ghibli.
That's why they get like Chris Pratt and
Christian Bale.
yeah.
What?
Wait,
Talking about like Onward, like with Chris Pratt and Tom Holland.
okay. I was
Okay,
gonna say,
I was like,
Chris Pratt's in a
No,
Ghibli movie?
I'm making a joke. I'm making a joke.
Yeah,
guys.
Michael Keaton, Christian Bale,
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson was in there.
John Krasinski? No,
They had.
he is.
Really?
Yeah, in The Wind Rises.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Joseph. Wait, what's his name?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Joseph
He's in
Gordon-Levitt.
Castle in the Sky, right?
No, he's in Wind Rises. He's the main character.
Oh, he's that? Oh, okay. What?
Yeah. See,
That's
Wind
crazy.
Rises. I would recommend that one.
Wind Rises is a great film.
It's another within the realm of Studio Ghibli of having these crazy worlds. Wind Rises is Grave of the Fireflies. Now that I've seen that, that's the most like grounded one. But the Wind Rises is a true story.
Okay.
Great. Well, I mean, Grave of the Fireflies is also true. There's a book called Grave of the Fireflies. I've been trying to get my hands on that for the longest time.
Dang.
Okay. It's just the saddest true story, but this is the happiest true story.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's still kind of sad.
Yeah, it is. Sad.
But yeah, the voice acting is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. I think that's like part of the reason like that I got the Disney vibes because I immediately recognized Lilo and Meg. And then John Ratzenberger later, I was like, what the heck? This is a Disney movie.
Yeah, and you're watching and it just like it pops in your head. You just see Meg, you just see Lilo, and you're like, I'm watching a Disney movie now.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. For Susan Egan's character, Lynn, she's almost the exact same character as Megara. Because, like, she's got, like, the same attitude and everything. Like, she's sassy, independent, strong woman. And she's, like, the same here. And it was very much a Disney movie for me. But I really enjoyed it because I like Disney.
Yeah.
But it was also something very new for me as well. And all of the performances were really great. And I did not feel taken out of the film at all by any of the performances either. Maybe John Ratzenberger a little bit, but because I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah.
But everything else was like superb. I loved everything.
Yeah, one of the things that is impressive about Ghibli is how good their English voice casting ends up being. Like, even their old stuff, like Grave of the Fireflies is from '88. Like, they probably weren't working with Disney by then because...
Oh, yeah, facts. Yeah.
But even that movie has, like, really good dubbing.
Yeah.
But,
They care.
So another thing I wanted to touch base on real quick was just kind of like the animation style and like the character design. There's a lot of just iconic looking characters. Every single character has like a unique feel to it. I guess maybe except for like some of the staff there. They're like all the frog looking people. But everybody else is super unique. Like all the spirits are very unique. Like the No Face is iconic. I've seen him like everywhere, but like I don't know what he was from or anything. And I saw him, I was like, oh wait, he's from this movie. And so that was really cool to see. Chihiro's very has a very nice character design as well, very much like a little girl, kind of like very soft features. And let's see what else. The radish spirit was very unique. All the other spirits, the little duck spirits, were fun.
That's actually my background on my computer.
I love the suit spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah, the soot spirits are
so
amazing.
cute.
I wanted a t-shirt.
Oh
of
yeah,
that.
the soot spirits. I forgot about those guys. And then the boiler man too, with his spider-like body. That was a little creepy, but it was kind of cool. I liked it.
I love the myth behind that as well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, there's like an idea or theory that he's the last of his kind because they would like transform into different things just to trick their prey and eat them. But they got hunted down, and since we don't see any more that are like Kamashi, or Kamaji, I mean, he's just a slave
Yeah.
because he wants to live, I guess.
And then the witch, the baby, and so much stuff.
Right. Yeah.
It was just, all of the character designs just blew me away, and I loved every single second of it. And I can't wait to see more Studio Ghibli stuff.
Good. Yeah, there were some Onis in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I didn't catch that. And I was like, me and Jared have been playing Ghost of Tsushima, and there's some Onis right there. Alright.
Cool. Anything else about the movie?
No, I think it's just a great piece of art.
Yeah.
Like, even Ghibli had released recently, because they realized that their films, people want to use them as backgrounds and stuff. They were like, all right, we're releasing like film by film. You can just download free
That's
wallpapers of the films.
Cool.
Nice.
Well, you want to go around and give our ratings?
Yeah. I would say I'd give it a 10 out of 10. I think originally I would have given it like a 7.5, but out of like just kind of stewing in it and really thinking about it and thinking about all the effort that has gone into this movie, I've appreciated it more now as a work of art. And it's a superb movie, and I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed this more the second time, and I can see why this could be some people's favorite Studio Ghibli, but there are a couple I like a little bit more. So I would give this a 8 out of 10.
Spirited Away is like one of my top 5 films. It's like easy a 10 out of 10 for me. Maybe like a 9.5, but I always go for that 10.
Yeah, embrace it. It's a 10 for you. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 8 out of 10 for me. I really like this one. It's more solidly an 8 this time after watching it. Last time it was bordering on a 7.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, I thoroughly enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
So thank you, Spencer, for recommending it. And this week we have a recommendation from TK.
Yeah, and I wanted to pick a film that was kind of out of a genres that we haven't seen yet, but I was going to do a couple of different ones. A silent film was going to be one, but I switched it up. So I'm doing a Robin Williams film, Dead Poets Society.
Oh,
Cool.
nice. Yep, that one's been on my watch list for a while.
Yeah, I saw it on your guys' watch list.
Yeah,
It's
we had
on-
like plans to watch this movie at some point, but it just never happened.
Yeah.
So this would give me motivation to watch it.
I watched this movie last year for the first time, and I really liked it. It's a great movie.
It says you want to watch.
Okay, well, I
This
need
is
to
a
update it. I need to update it.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen it, though. It's great.
So, Peter Weir, 1989, starring Robin Williams. It's available on Prime Video, supposedly. So, if you want to avoid spoilers for that, go ahead and watch it before our next episode. These come out every 2 weeks or so on Monday. We are approaching the end of the semester, so it's possible that there's a slight disruption in the upload schedule, but we'll be sure to make community posts if that ends up being the case. But otherwise, watch Dead Poets Society before next time, and until then, happy movie watching.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.